Here we go. We're on.
Are we on?
Yep. We're just waiting for it to do that.
There we go. Hello, this is George.
And Bonnie.
And this is Adonai Sanctuary Truth Classroom. Tomorrow we head out. So the next time we talk, it's going to be on the road.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know where we'll be.
I'll be in Virginia.
Probably Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
if
Kentucky.
If they'll have us.
But we'll be on from here. Having fun.
Yep. Finally.
And tonight, June 11th, we're going over Numbers chapter 1. Before we get to that, I got a little reading I want to read to you. It gets a little personal. At least I think it does. And it's kind of pointed.
Hi, Ann.
You guys will be seeing her soon.
Yep.
How many of you individuals are to the point of everything else, we mean everything, has taken a back seat to Yeshua our Messiah? That's a great example why the roads are so different. The huge road of the world and their people, or the tiny road of Yeshua for his people. That was just before we get into Numbers.
Mm-hmm. And I think you need to read it again. I think you need to read that again.
How many of you individuals are to the point of everything else, we mean everything, has taken a back seat to Yeshua our Messiah? That's a great example why the roads are so different. The huge road of the world and their people, or the tiny road of Yeshua for his people. Interesting.
I just had to repeat that.
Had nothing to do with the reading tonight, but it has everything to do with
why you're doing what you're doing.
I like it when she finishes my sentence. I do. She has a good insight. After all, she married me. Of course, everybody knows me, knows that's a joke. All right. Numbers. I was going to try to pronounce the Hebrew B-M-I-D-B-A-R, Bimidbar. Bimidbar is actually Numbers. Okay, before we get into Numbers 1, I want to read something. I know I just did, but what an important section of Adonai's letter about Israel. The people were led out of Egypt, was chased by Pharaoh's army, camped by Mount Sinai. Moses went up the mountain and talked to Adonai. Was given the 10 Commandments, is what we believe, or what preachers preach. Broke the 10 Commandments. Yeah. Adonai was going to kill them all. Yet Moses says, please, no, Adonai. He shamed Aaron because he molded the golden god for the people. Melted that god, or that golden calf, and made all who served it drink the water after the gold was made into powder and mixed into the water. Back up the mountain Moses goes to get any explanation on what was he to do now. I want you to think, people. That is a very short explanation of what has really happened so far. Now we come to the section of Adonai's letter addressed as Numbers. think about everything that we just read, everything that we just stated. All that important stuff that Adonai and Moses did with the children of Israel, his chosen people. And now we're going to get to a section called Numbers. My sweetie is going to read Numbers 1:1.
Adonai spoke to Moses in the Sinai desert, in the tent of meeting, on the first day of the second month of the second year after they had left the land of Egypt.
They were still at that foot of the mountain in the desert. Adonai was speaking to Moses on the first day of the second month of the second year since they left Egypt. The first day of the second month of the second year. That means they camped there for quite a while. Does that indicate they were at the mountain for almost a whole year so far? In all reality, when you read that, it sounds once they got there, they stayed there a while. Read 1:2, please.
He said, take a census of the entire assembly of the people of Israel by clans and families. Record the name of all the men.
Take a census. Now, at times, preachers have stated a census to count the fighting men, which is half true. The census was to count the entire community. And we'll find out later that they counted for a reason. And the end of 2 and the start of, well, read the end of 2 again and read all of 3 again, please, or 3.
Record the names of all the men, 20 years old and older, who are subject to military service in Israel. You and Aaron are to enumerate them by company, company by company.
In other words, start a draft. Of all the men 20 years and older, because we will need them to fight for and possess the promised land. I guess Adonai knew what he was doing. Read 4 and 5, please.
Take with you from every tribe someone who is the head of a clan. These are the men to take with you. I was just looking this over. I looked at that before.
First one.
Oh, sorry. From Reuben. Can you read it better?
Elazar.
The son of
Shadur. That's as close as I can come.
Sounds good.
How about you, Jordan?
Shadur.
Shadur.
Okay. I know I'm not going to have her read all of them, and I try to write them down so I could read them. So I wrote them down in somewhat what the English versions might be. From Simeon, Shemuel, the son of Zerjashkadeh. Judah, from Judah, Nashon, the son of Amminadab. Issachar, from Issachar, Nathaniel, the son of Zioar. From Zebulun, Eliab, the son of Helon. From Ephraim, Eshelama, the son of Amidahud. From Manasseh, Gamaliel, the son of Pedazur. From Benjamin, Abidan, the son of Gideon. From Dan, Ahazar, the son of Ammishaddai. From Asher, Pagiel, the son of Ochur. From Dan, Elisha, the son of Divul. From Naphtali, Ahira, the son of Enan. Now you know why I didn't have my wife read those?
I just thought
And those were the English translations. Those aren't the Hebrew ones.
I just thought that was kind of cool, though, that verse 10. Of the children of Joseph.
Of the children of Joseph, number
Ephraim
10.
and Manasseh.
Yeah.
I thought that was, that's the only one that says that.
Well, Ephraim and Manasseh, Joseph's two sons,
Right.
took the place of Joseph and the place of Levi.
Oh, good point. I thought he has two.
Now I gotta find where I was at here. 1, 2, 4, 5, 2, 1 and 2.
4 and 5.
Yeah, I know. I dropped my piece of paper. I wasn't going to read those. Embarrass myself, but I did. Okay. Now, I actually wrote here, if you want to, the names of the leaders, and if you want to try to name them tribe by tribe, you can study yourself 1, 5 through 15. What's so interesting, Moses is told by Moses is told by Adonai, read 16 through 19, please.
These were the ones called from the assembly, the chief of their fathers' clans, and the head of the thousands in Israel. So Moses and Aaron took these men who had been designated by name, and on the first day of the second month, they gathered the whole assembly to state their genealogies by family and clans and recorded the names of all those 20 years and older, as well as their total numbers. Moses counted them in the Sinai desert, just as Adonai had ordered him. He was counting high.
Designated by name. But then it says after, it wasn't just the 20 years old, as well as the total number.
Mm-hmm. As well as their total numbers, yep.
You leaders, gather your clans and make a record of all your people. We need to know how many are going to be we will be having in our army, in other words. But they wanted to know the whole number of people also. Read read 1 verse 20, please.
The men 20 years and older who were subject to the military service were recorded by name, family, and clan, starting with the descendants of Reuben, Israel's firstborn. Here are the totals.
Okay.
Now these look like it.
In this instance, he doesn't put the emphasis on count them all. He says just count the men. In other words, the ones 20 years old and older. Now when you study it yourself, my sweetie's going to read 121 through 43 and give you an idea how many fighting men the Hebrews actually had. Go ahead, sweetie.
Descendants of Reuben, 46,500. Descendants of Simeon, 59,300. Descendants of Gad, 45,650. Descendants of Judah, 74,600. Descendants of Issachar, 54,400. Descendants of Zebulun, 57,400. Descendants of Ephraim, 40,500. Descendants of Manasseh, 32,200. Descendants of Benjamin, 35,400. Descendants of Dan, 62,700. Descendants of Asher, 41,500. And descendants of Naphtali, 53,400.
You may recite the totals later to yourself or add them up. Just to get an idea how many men, fighting men, back then they would have had. But for right now, the grand total of the ones eligible for military service is, read 44 through 46, please.
Moses, Aaron, and the 12 leaders of Israel, each from a clan, counted the people of Israel by their clans. Those 20 years old and older eligible for military service in Israel, and the grand total came to 603,550.
In other words,
You have them all stand still.
603,550 soldiers.
It's a big army.
Back then, I would say that was a pretty good-sized military service. Read 47 through 49, please.
But those who were Levites, according to the clan of their fathers, were not counted in the census, because Adonai had told Moses, "Do not include the clan of Levi when you take the census of the people." 47 through 49.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Pardon me. I'm back now. Okay. No one from the tribe of Levi were to be counted. And while my sweetie was reading, George picked up his paper and pointed that out. With that bit of information, we know how many were in the tribe. We don't know how many were actually in the tribe of Levi.
Not listed.
Didn't have a census for them. They didn't count them. They have a job that would never lead to them going into battle as an army. And have them in charge of, read 50, please.
Instead, give the Levites charge over the tabernacle of the testimony, its equipment, and everything else connected with it. They are to carry the tabernacle, all its equipment, serve in it, and set up their camp around it.
This tribe this tribe from Levi will serve in the tabernacle of the testimony, taking it down when it moved and when they set it up, and when they get it moved, when they're removing it. How important is their job? How can anyone help them with their job? Read 51, please.
When the tabernacle is to be moved onward, it is the Levites who are to take it down and set it up in the new location. Anyone else who involves himself is to be put to death. Don't touch.
In other words, it's kind of an important job to be a Levi.
Kind of.
Now, we'll go over this next week, but if you look at this piece of paper, this little square here talks about the tabernacle.
You have to put a little.
That little square there is what would be the tabernacle. Now, underneath and around it, we have the names of the son of Levi's, Gershon, Miriam, Kohath, Moses, and Aaron are the ones who camped around the tabernacle. They were the ones in charge of all the tabernacle, tearing down, taking up, setting up, doing everything for the tabernacle. They would not be the ones who go to war. Now, as we've done in the past, we looked at this and we see in the past, we found out that in the north side of the tabernacle, Asher, Dan, and Naphtali were to camp up there. To the east, it was supposed to be Benjamin, Ephraim, and Manasseh. We're all supposed to camp on the east side of the tabernacle. And east side of where the Levites would camp. And then on the south side, it would be Gad, Reuben, and Simeon. And then on the west side, it would be north, south.
East side.
All right, east side. I'm looking at it backwards, sorry. East side would be Elisar, Judah, and Zebulun. So that means Manasseh, Ephraim, and Benjamin would be on the west. But those guys were the ones that were camping around the Levites. And the counting in Numbers 1 was to find out, how many of these tribes camped around the tabernacle, actually also around the sons of Levi and Aaron and Moses. They were the ones who would be ready for battle. The outskirts.
You get into more detail in chapter 2.
Yeah, and chapter 2 gets into it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, my sweetie read in 51, no one except the Levites are to do that job. If you or anyone who pretends to be a Levi to get out of their job of being a soldier, you might call them today a conscientious coward. No, I mean a conscientious objector, or hide from behind some facade of believing they want to be a worker for the Levites. They are to be. Read the last part of 51.
To be put to death.
If you didn't fight for your country, if you didn't fight for Adonai, and you pretended like you wanted to be a Levi instead of serving Adonai as a soldier, it states they were to be put to death. Now that's kind of a pointed direction from Adonai to fight for him. The promised land, the chosen people were supposed to fight for their country. It doesn't pull any punches. It tells it to their face. Read 52, please.
The rest of Israel are to set up camp, company by company, each man with his own banner. That's where 2 gets into next time.
52, set up your camp by your own banner, tribe by tribe. I guess that's what this little diagram we drew a long time ago. Dan, Asher, Naphtali, and Issachar, Judah, and Zebulun, Simeon, Gad, and Reuben, and Manasseh, Ephraim, and Benjamin, outside of where the Levites were camped. I guess that's what they were supposed to do. Set up your camp by your own banner, tribe by tribe. And we showed you in that little diagram where the Levites would camp, right outside the tabernacle. Kind of an important job. But think of it. That was an important job. But all those tribes, Simeon, Gad, Naphtali, Reuben, Judah, they also had their jobs to do. Read 53, please.
But the Levites are to camp around the tabernacle of the testimony, so that no anger will come upon the assembly of the people of Israel. The Levites are to be in charge of the tabernacle of the testimony.
That tells you what we've been trying to point to for the last 5 minutes. The Levi camp, they were to camp around the testimony, around the tabernacle of the testimony. Why? So no anger would be found or in or by the tabernacle. Isn't that what it says?
Mm-hmm. Exactly what it says.
And what did the Hebrews do? At this time in history, what did the Hebrews do? Read 54, please.
This is what the people of Israel did. They did everything that Adonai had ordered Moses.
They did, the Hebrew, the children of Israel, God's chosen people, at this time, they did exactly, at that time, what Adonai told them to do. It's too bad they didn't toe the line for the rest of the time. But God, Adonai, God, gives them a directions exactly what to do. And actually, he does the same thing for us.
Yeah.
How many of us toe the line? How many of us even know where the line's at? Remember last week when we talked about individuals who will never use the name Yeshua, but will use that Catholic made-up name? How you should have seen George's eyes when I says, well, then you might as well just take Matthew 7, Netanyahu 7, and tear it out of your Bible. Because if you're not going to believe what Adonai says there, and what Yeshua says there, and what it tells you so plainly, you don't need that chapter. It's kind of pointed. It kind of tells you in 7 of Matthew, or Netanyahu, exactly the truth. Now, maybe you people don't want to know all the truth. That's the only thing we really are hunting for. Now, this is going to get somewhere. We haven't the faintest idea where. But it's going to lead to something that Adonai wants you people to understand. Well, actually, he wants all of us to understand. Because we really don't have the idea. We don't have all the answers. But we're hoping that through this little conversations we have, and by the way, hi Dave.
Oh, hi Dave.
We only want to bring out truth. Now, if you want the truth, study along with us. Understand where we're going. But don't believe everything we say unless you study it yourself. The good timeline that's coming up in our next book. And we went over it a number of times. My sweetie typed it out so it looks so beautiful. And if we see any of you in person, we'll show you what she did. Or how it'll be in the next book. You guys have a very good summer. We'll see you next week. But we don't know where we'll be coming from. I hope Adonai blesses each one of you. Bye.